Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where my voice isn't fully recovered yet, but we are continuing to improve here. And last episode, we designed the Kerbal Exposed facility to send up to the ISS. Now, I did tweak the position of this a little bit off camera, because I noticed we had a little bit of clipping out over here, and we had a little bit of space up on this side, so I just moved it this way a little bit. Not a big deal. It now doesn't clip on either side. So that is absolutely great. Other than that, we should be ready to go for our Kerbal Exposed facility. Now, I want to just think about this for a moment here before I launch this. We're going to be attaching this in on, like, this side over here. Hang on. Is that right? Where are we attaching this? What is our attach point? It's intended to be attached here? Okay, that's going to make things mildly awkward for us. In that case, yeah, I'm thinking about our deployment of this. And the deployment is actually going to be very awkward indeed. So we know that this guy is going to have to be rebuilt once we are in orbit, and that's going to end up being placed in here. This is going to be attached to the station, which ends up meaning that we should probably have this get attached completely differently. If the station attachment point is here, then we should just detach all of this, which means detaching the struts, and unfortunately, that means that we're going to have to reposition this in the actual craft. But we're just going to grab these struts out of here for now, and do something like that. Probably for the best with that anyway. And I'm just going to detach this here. I'm going to completely get rid of this deployment mechanism, and we're going to have it come out of the arm here. So we're just going to move this up over here. We're going to take out this advanced grabbing unit, and I'm going to put in a docking port junior. We could keep the advanced grabbing unit somewhere, like in the cockpit, and that's probably not a terrible idea, just in case we end up needing it. And then from there, this guy would just attach here, like that. So what that ends up meaning is that... Actually, no, it doesn't detach like that at all. What am I doing? It attaches... Hang on. We need to get that back. This ends up attaching not like that at all, but what we need to do is have it attached somewhere temporarily. And then we do this as a temporary attachment point. That will need to be removed. Then we reroute this. It's going to get really awkward here. Hang on. How are we going to do this? Because I want this to get attached here. Yeah, that's going to be awkward. If we reroute it, it's going to break a bunch of things. So if we have it like this, right? We would want this to get attached up here, but we could have this be a temporary holding point. This is not where we would want this to get attached to the space station. Where it's attached to the shuttle right now is where it gets attached to the space station. So if we reroute this like so, and then we take this out of here and rotate this to be like that. Okay, and then we reroute this to be here, like that. In theory, that would do the trick. Now, the question is, how are we doing for our placement of this? It'll need to go about there. Okay, and then the question is, how are we going to go about stowing this? Which is an interesting question here. So that's definitely going to be fascinating. This is where it'll get attached to the station. So that'll make it a lot easier to attach, of course, and we can position this arm however we want it to, rotate it around. That's all absolutely fine. So from here, I think our best bet would be to hold this at a target angle of around 68 degrees here, I think. Yes, about there. Then... what are we going to do? Just fold this? That's obviously not going to work. Because if we do that, then great, we're fine on this side and massive clipping on this side, right? So what we're going to need to do is figure out a way to do this. So we're going to have this be at like minus 180. And this is going to have to go back. But we're going to need to rotate this around to 180 as well. This is going to have to go back like this. And then obviously that's, mildly problematic. But we would need to come in here and grab this hinge. And then that guy would move forward and would be somewhere over here. Now, this is going to be an additional problem. So we may have to have this be stored separately and attach it on orbit as well. And that'll be kind of similar to what we've got going on here. That said, we might have the ability to attach this guy later on here. So this is the top view, right? We'd be looking at it from here. So that means that this would go, in theory, if we can get this rotated, it would go something kind of like that. Now, I don't know what the actual directionality we want this to be is. I want to take a quick look here. It needs to be going in the zenith direction. Okay, that's fine. So it would need to be rotated not like that, but rather like this. That's probably workable. Okay, so from here, this is our largest problem. So we could potentially reassemble this. So we would grab this guy and we would store it simply here. And then we'd reassemble this in orbit. That's a theoretical possibility. From here, we can bring this guy like that, and this might be able to just sit directly at 90 now. That's actually fine. So yeah, it'll require a little bit of reassembly in orbit, but that seems okay. I think we've got this packed in relatively nicely now, so we can get one strut here, we can get one strut over here, and then a third strut just down here. Nice and clean. I did not intend to detach our big orange tanks there. We'll undo that. Okay. Well, that's a bit problematic. Sure. I can't say I'm shocked about that one. We are relatively high up here. We've got a lot of space down this way. So what that ends up meaning is all we need to do is simply increase this angle a bit until we are going to start clipping on this side, right? So that just means positioning this somewhere around like 105 degrees. Yeah, that's absolutely clean. So no problem there. I'm going to redo this strut work real quick. So that's going to end up going about there. This guy can go from here to here. And then we'll do one from here to about here. In theory, something along the lines of that. That packs it away. Cool. So that'll work. Let's get this thing up into space at long last. That was a lot of design work on this, no doubt about that. And let's get this up there. So we're going to get this loaded in and we'll fly it on up. It will require only one component of reassembly now, though. We have managed to place the communications array in its correct position with this type of pack-in. So that's absolutely okay. I like it. So let's set our orbital altitude as usual to 200 kilometers. That seems to be a pretty decent amount there. Don't skip circularization. Go ahead and do corrective steering. And at this point, of course, we need to set the ISS as our target and launch into plane of target. Only 13 minutes off. Okay, let's go. So that'll be absolutely fine. And then, of course, we're just going to have to build the ES section, but that's already built. We'll just have to rebuild it in reverse. It'll be mildly awkward, but it probably does need to be done. We can do that when we first deploy it out of the craft. That doesn't have to be attached like when it's attached to the station. So that'll be absolutely fine. I probably should have double-checked the staging with that rerouting that we did, but it actually looks fine here. I did not double-check it. That's just luck. So we'll take it. And off we go. So, of course, it'll take a little bit to get up to the station here. And I'll probably have to restart the game when we get there because of that horrendous frame rate that we tend to get when we first zone into that area. I don't know why it does that, and then we restart the game and load it in again, and it's fine. That feels like a bug, but that is definitely the way that KSP has worked for a very long time. So maybe that's something they've fixed in KSP 2, which, by the way, does have that science mode now. I am aware of that. That's been out for a while at this point, of course. I've not tried it. We've been busy with this for now, but we are probably going to go back to KSP 2 for a bit after this series. I'd like to revisit it and see how it goes. It was very buggy last time I played, and hopefully things are a little better now. Hopefully. So let's see how we're doing on that inclination. 13%, or rather degrees. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. We don't expect it to be more than a degree or two. And keeping an eye on our burn time here, we've got about 20 seconds left in our SRBs. Cool. We do need to manually stage them as the only manual action being done in this launch at this time. As usual, I'll do that at about 2 seconds. That really does seem to be about the sweet spot there. We could maybe get away with 1 second, but I'm not going to bother. We've got plenty of fuel. We don't need to try to min-max this at all. So it's absolutely okay. And off it goes. Excellent. So at this point, of course, now we need to turn our gimbal limit down to 33 so we don't have that oscillation going on. There we go. And we're just going to continue to work on getting as much horizontal speed as we can, although there's still a fair amount of vertical speed in this at this time. But we are transitioning over. So that'll all be absolutely fine. We've got a fair amount of burn time left in here, of course. We still need to roughly double our speed here. So that'll be a little bit, no doubt about that. But our apoapsis has pushed up into space at this point. The question is, can we get away with physics warping here? I'm not sure I want to try it. We do still see some oscillation and such at this period, and we know that the amount of thrust that we have can cause some pretty significant strain on our connection to the big orange tank. So I think that we probably don't want to attempt that. Although I would love to do it. I would absolutely love to do that. Of course, we are up to about 1,600 meters per second. We've gotten a large amount of speed here. We're not in the out of the atmosphere yet. We've got about 10 kilometers to go on that one. But our apoapsis height is chilling at about 80 kilometers. All is looking good on this launch, as we would expect. How are we looking on our inclination here? 1 degree off? Not bad. As far as the actual rendezvous goes, we're not expecting too many problems with that either. Excellent. We could grab this atmospheric analysis, but there's really not any point. But right now, we're doing fine. Although, we do need to remember, there's only like 5 more shuttle flights after this one. Although, technically, the next flight, I believe, is a Soyuz, which is kind of wild. It's been a while. Let me just double check that here. Yeah. So looking at this, we can see that we've got the Kerbal exposed facility here on the Space Shuttle Endeavour. The next one is actually a Soyuz launch. Wild. It's been a really long time since we've had a Soyuz launch. The last one was the Pirs docking component. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely been a while. No doubt about that. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional shuttle launches. And then we transition over to Falcon 9s. And the Proton M. And a new version of the Soyuz. So, yeah, we're definitely getting close to done with these shuttle launches. Wonderful. Yeah, you don't have to play us an audio alert every time we have an available gravity scan here. I'm well aware of the gravity scan situation. Okay, so we are just going to get ourselves into orbit here. There we go. And this is definitely good enough. You don't need to do any better than this, MechJeb. This is fine. No problem whatsoever here. We can go to Killrot, and we can start getting ourselves reconfigured for spaceflight. So let's ditch the big orange tank as soon as we're done with this turn. Uh-huh. We're supposed to be on Killrot right now. Okay, there we go. So now we can ditch that, and Bill, you can EVA, and you are going to reconfigure us for spaceflight here. We're just going to hop on down over here and get our engines turned. So let's grab this strut, this one, and finally this one. There we go. Change our angle from 20 to 0 degrees. And we will put these struts back on. One here. That did not go. We'll put it internally. One here. One here. And finally, one here. Just making sure that our engine plate isn't going to be going anywhere. Okay. Now we can head back in. We are mostly reconfigured for spaceflight, but we should probably thrust limit our engines. So that's going to be bringing this guy down to 10%. 10% here. And 10%. Okay. Let's see what a rendezvous will look like. So that is going to be adding a maneuver somewhere around here. What's that going to be? Okay, yeah, we're going to need some time. Maybe one orbit? Actually, it's like half an orbit. It's like over here. Yeah, that's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I can work with that. Let's align to this node. And let's just get into position for this burn. That's going to be a 31-minute warp. So let's warp right on forward here. And that's absolutely fine. So it's going to be 133.2 meters per second to get to the station from here, and then 175.6 relative speed. That's not very high relative speed. We'll probably do our first corrective burn towards the station, and then away from the station after that. Just double checking that these are all at the same thrust. It would be problematic if one of them was still full thrust. So I just wanted to make absolutely sure of that, and we can warp forward a little further. 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0 mark. Off we go to the station. Physics warping this a little bit. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. This is good enough. Okay, so that'll be fine. We can now warp up to the station. We'll be what? This way? Yes. So we'll warp up to about here. We're going to be within 4.2 kilometers. That's fine. Let's just swap over to target mode. And there's the station. So at this point, I want to do a bit of a burn out this direction to correct our trajectory a little bit. We'll take this up to around 200 meters per second. There, that'll do. And that gives us a bit of correction, down to 2.8. But it's really this correction that's going to be doing the trick. So we're just going to warp in about here, and we need to flip around to retrograde now. But I just wanted to give us that extra little bit of momentum towards the target there. So now we can do a burn out over this way. And just get ourselves a bit of correction there. I think we need to go out over here a bit. Maybe overshot a bit on the verticality. It's pretty close. 0.1. Okay. That's not bad. That is not bad. We'll just hop over to relative velocity minus and start killing this momentum once we get to... I feel like we might overshoot. I'm going to do it now at 3.5, but this is probably too early. This is definitely too early. Okay, I'm going to make a small... Oh, we're loading in. Okay, this is going to be laggy from here. Okay. We're just going to do some braking here then. This is going to be very laggy, of course. This is absolutely expected. We're going to need to restart the game. So from here, the question is, how close should we end up getting? I'm going to warp us in a little closer. Wow, that frame rate is insane. So now we're within 1 kilometer. And I'm going to be burning here. I think now we're going to overshoot. I think I overwarped it a little bit. I'm always so distracted by this abysmal frame rate. But we are down to 50 meters per second now. Make that 40. Make that 30. And we're not going to collide here, so it's all good. Make that 20. Actually, we're not going to overshoot here, I don't think. I think this is actually kind of okay. In fact, we're going to keep going a little bit. So we're going to need to put this onto the Kerbal lab, which is, of course, this up over here. So we're coming in at kind of an awkward direction for that, but that's fine. Let's just bring this down to a halt for the moment. So we're moving at 4 meters per second right now. 2 meters per second. 1, and... there, that'll do. Okay, we'll put this in kill rot, and now... I'm thinking about restarting the game here, and then I'm like, but there's like 3 minutes left in the episode. And I'm like, oh, is it really worth it? Because I'm going to restart the game before next episode anyway. So maybe I should just put a cut in here at this point. It does seem like a reasonable time to do it. At the same time, it's early, but I guess it'll be fine. We'll have a whole episode to deploy this. That'll be fine. No problem whatsoever. It shouldn't take us anywhere near that long, because all we'll have to do is put together that one bit that's not attached, and then just dock it in, and we don't even have to undock it from the shuttle or anything. It should be pretty clean, all things considered. So you can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.